What's going on, guys? Welcome to the LowKick MMA UFC Fight Night Smith vs. Rakic recap show. I'm your host, Ryan Galloway, and joining me is Jordan Ellis. Jordan, how you been, mate?
Yeah, I've been fine. How have you been?
Not too bad. This card this morning, I woke up on time for the card to start, and as has been common trend every week, a fight's fallen out. It's been pushed back 30 minutes. Had to have a wait before the fight, so that wasn't the best. But, you know, those prelims on the early prelims pretty good. So overall, this card was pretty decent. What did you think?
Yeah, it was good. There was lots of finishes and, lots of standout performances, and it was a good card. And then, obviously as it dragged on, it weren't as good, we're not
Absolutely.
living up to over to his name. But we thought Eddie had a lot of action, and I'm sure most fans walk away happy from this one.
For sure, it was a fast starter, that's for sure. A lot of finishes straight up. I think there was 4 finishes straight away. The first 4 fights were finishes. And then every fight after was a unanimous decision. So it was just a drag in the end there. But we'll jump into the main event, seeing as that was the biggest fight of the night, obviously, between Anthony Smith and Alexander Rakic. And this was meant to show, is Rakic ready to jump into the top people in the division? Is he prepared for that? And is Smith still got it? Does Smith belong at the top of the division? And I think we answered one of those questions, and that was Smith doesn't belong at the top anymore. What he did in that performance was pretty lackluster, right? I don't think anyone's arguing that he had a good performance, a good showing. Not to say he doesn't have the skills, because we've seen him before, he has the skills, but something's going on in this fight. He just didn't look great, did he? What do you think?
No, this fight was just, a massive surprise. Not a good one, though, because it was just boring, and that surprised me. I expected a fun fight, and I didn't think there was any risk of this being boring, and it just wasn't. It's Rakic, and he's the European guy, and he's coming over, and he's dominating the American in wrestling, which, it kind of tells you, like, that's not usually the way things go, and it was just Rakic, dude. I think he just took the easiest way to victory, and he just knew, I'm stronger than this guy, I can hold him down, I can dominate him, he can't move, he can't get up. That's my route to victory, and from Smith's side, he did, somewhat tried to get back up, but he just couldn't. And it's one of them where, what does he do now? Because that's 2 on a row, and it's 2 in a row really against guys who I wouldn't necessarily say are at the top of the division, not yet anyway. And Glover, he was a big favourite in that one, and he was an underdog in this one, but Rakic just still got a lot to prove. And even after this one, I think he's still got a couple of big wins before he gets a title shot. So, tough loss for Smith. Brilliant for Rakic, though. He got out of there and he took pretty much no damage, and he goes on to bigger and better things.
I agree, and I think my opinion, Smith's biggest issue in this fight is he's a good jiu-jitsu player. Like, don't get me wrong, in straight jiu-jitsu, like pure jiu-jitsu comps, he's fantastic. If you watch him in Quintet, you've seen he's got an awesome guard, and I think he relied too much on this fight and forgot it was an MMA match, right? Because it's completely different than in a jiu-jitsu comp where the other person's looking for submissions and they're looking to pass your guard. Rakic was happy to sit in his guard and land shots, and so I think Smith, he seemed to be pulling guard a lot. Like, even in the second round, he let himself get taken down so he could pull guard. And I think that was his downfall. I think he was too confident in his submission ability, and he was too comfortable on his back, and he spent too much time there. And when he was on the feet, in the first round, obviously he got smashed and his legs got taken out. But in the second round, he was having a lot of success on the feet. But he let himself go down because he wanted to try and play his guard, and it just didn't pay off for him. And like you're saying, Rakic didn't really prove a lot in that fight. Because, yeah, he got tagged once, and I suppose he dropped Smith in the first. But outside of those 2 big moments, it was just, coasting to victory. He just sat in his guard and landed enough shots to win. So I don't see Rakic talking about getting a title shot. I can't see that happening. I think he'll probably get the loser, of the title fight or the Glover Teixeira Santos fight. One of those losers. He's going to get a higher ranked opponent next. I saw on Twitter people were trying to match him up with Jiri Prochazka, but I don't see him doing that. But he's not ready for a title shot, that's for sure.
Yeah, I don't think. Obviously, it's a good win and it's good for his record and things like that. He's back in the win column, but it doesn't do nothing for his standing with the UFC. Dana White's not going to be giving him a title shot push after that one, and it was impressive. It's a good win, but as you said, Smith was kind of sitting. He was content a little bit to, sit in the guard and have Rakic on top, but at the same time, Rakic did dominate him, keeping there when he was trying it. Like, at times, he was really trying to get up. So it's an double-edged sword with jiu-jitsu, really, because if you're talented in it, you can pull off brilliant submissions. But more often than not, at the top level, you're not going to be able to catch a triangle on someone. When was the last time you seen a triangle in an elite level fight? It's been a while, so it's just it's kind of just about getting up, and then them type of guys who don't rely on jiu-jitsu seem to have the better time of just popping straight back up. If that's your main focus, then you're going to be able to do it more. So it was just a tough night for Smith, and he's only 32, but he's now almost 50 fights in his career now. I think that was his 49th fight, so he's a very experienced guy, and he's took a lot. So I'm just hoping his heart's still in it, because obviously he's got the broadcast career kind of sitting on the sidelines. It's a nice cushy job, and he's obviously a thinker. He speaks a lot about how he feels. He's quite open book on that terms. So hopefully his heart's still in it. And from what he was saying post fight, it sounds like he wants to drop to 185, or he's going to try and do that, which might be a good move. But as he said, he's almost too big for them. There's just 20 pounds in the middle where they probably could do with a different division now. Interesting to see what he does next. Rakic, I think he's going to get one of the top guys, but he needs to be better, or he needs to impress more to get a title shot. Otherwise, he's going to be waiting for a while, I think.
Yeah, and just to go back to what you said about when's the last time we've seen it, like someone sit a triangle, I think it's also a size thing, because you look at the smaller weight classes where they're smaller, weaker guys, like strength-wise, I guess, there's a lot more triangles, a lot more submissions from the guard, whereas when you got these big guys that are big and strong, to pull something off from the guard is very difficult. I mean, when's the last time you heard of a heavyweight pulling a triangle off? I can't think of one off the top of my head, unless I'm thinking about like Fedor against Verdum, like years and years ago. So it doesn't happen, but I don't like the move back to 85. We've seen Anthony Smith at 85. He wasn't great at 85. He wasn't a top guy at 85. Why go back there this late in your career? That doesn't make sense to me. If I'm him, if I'm going to keep fighting, I'm going to stick it out at 205. He's not like a journeyman. He could still be a contender if he just gets his shit together. I don't know what's wrong with him. I don't know if it's a mental thing. I don't know if it's a camp thing, but you look at the last fight, he came out there and he looked phenomenal the first couple of rounds. And I think maybe that spun his head out in this one, and he was like, I can't go out there and empty the gas tank. He's come out in this one super reserved. And I mean, maybe you can't come out against Rakic the same way he did against Teixeira, but I think a little bit more action would have helped his case in this fight. And I think because of the last fight, he was a bit more concerned and reserved with his energy and didn't want to gas out, which could have led to his downfall as well, right?
The problem with this is Smith saying he's undersized now, is that the problem is that he's beat Gustafsson and Volkan Oezdemir, which are two huge wins. So if you're undersized, you wouldn't be getting by them type of guys. We've just seen Gustafsson go up to heavyweight. He's probably one of the biggest light heavyweights you can face, and he dealt with him okay. Mm-hmm. And so to use the size excuse now, it just seems a bit, it's nice timing. Obviously he's being dominated, but he knows how he feels in there, and the problem in both of these fights is he just wasn't able to get the person off him. So is that a strength thing, or is that a technique thing, and not knowing how to stand up? It's a tricky situation. I don't necessarily want to see him go down to middleweight, but can he compete against the top guys? If you've lost to Glover and Rakic, where'd you kind of go from there? It's a tough spot, because it's all down from there. He's looking someone on the fringe top 10 now, and if he wants to get another win and get back up there, and it's tough in the light heavyweight division. It's lively right now. Everyone's gunning for that title. So, and then you come up against someone like Rakic, who's just, he's a young beast, and he's going for the title, and he was a massive favourite in this. And sometimes the bookmakers can be off, but they were clearly right on this one. So it's a tough spot for Smith, and it's a brilliant win for Rakic. Let's just see how they both play out.
This is going to be a rough one for Smith, in my opinion, because you think about it, he's already lost to Glover. He's lost to Santos at 85, if my memory serves me right. So he's not going to get either the fighters that win or lose that fight. He's going to have to fight down, and I think they're going to feed him someone like Jiri Prochazka, because they try and build him up as well. So I think that's probably his next fight, if I've had to put money on it, unless he's taking time off, and then maybe he's not going to fight him. But they'll give him someone like that, or another one of these prospects. They'll try and make a name off him. I don't think they're going to give him any favors. He's not getting a higher ranked opponent after this. He's going to have to work his way back. I think he's in a bit of a Tyron Woodley situation. I guess Tyron's fighting Covington, so that's not right. But, they're going to make it a hard road for him to get back to a title shot, is what I'm saying. So does he really want to stick that out? Does he have it in him to stick that out? I don't know. And like you brought up, initially, he has that broadcasting career. He's fantastic at it. And, he could just transition to that full time and not worry about fighting and be probably quite happy money-wise and whatever. But does he want to fight? Because if he wants to fight, he's going to make some changes.
Yeah, and it is that now, and as I said, it's nearly 50 fights into a career. He's 32, but he's old in the fight game. We've said it before with Joel Aldo and people like that. You think they're much older because they've been around for so much longer, and you look at the records, and he hasn't had it all his own way. I think it's it's about even, well, not even, but for every 2 wins he's had a loss. So it's not like he's had a easy career. He's been taking damage for many years, and yeah, it's just as he said in his interview post fight, it's time for a big change. So it's either make a move, bulk up for light heavyweight, go and hit the gym, like get on the weights, or drop down to middleweight, or just call it a career. But he seems like he wants to carry on fighting. It's just about where and how. And I think, as you said, the Jiri fight is a favourable one just because Jiri will stand up with him. I think he'll try and knock him out, and he's quite hittable as well. So that could be one where, one big win, one big knockout, and it turns his career back around. So, I think that's been the story of his career, Smith. He's always, he's had highs and lows, and he's able to flip it. And, don't count him out in this, tough situation, because he can probably will turn it round, but it is a tough spot.
I agree. Well, we'll move on from that one. I think we've spoken about that enough. Another person who might be near the end of their career, Robbie Lawler, takes on Magne. I thought Lawler was going to come out here a killer. I thought he was going to show us the Lawler of old. He was not that at all. He was very reserved. Didn't do a lot. He shot a takedown in the first round for some reason. That surprised me. I don't know. He hit him good too before that. He was tagging him. And then he shot on him, and it just went downhill from there. Magne's so much longer and so much bigger, and he managed to just dominate the grappling exchanges, keep him in the clinch. Even on the feet later in the fight, he was landing, and Lawler wasn't really doing a lot. Bit of the Tyron Woodley problem from his last couple of fights, where he's looking for that big shot, hasn't been able to land it. But I don't know. I don't know what Lawler does. I don't know what he wants to do, obviously. I'm sure the UFC keep him around. He's been a champion. He's still a big name. But do you really want to fight anymore if this is where your career is going? What do you think?
Well, first off, Magne just made it look easy. He just had his way with Robbie. He did whatever he wanted. He dominated the wrestling exchanges. Towards the end, he was popping jobs out and just having fun with it. Really, it was pretty much a glorified sparring session for him. There weren't really any real danger from Robbie, and he deserves credit because it's the biggest win of his career. But I feel like he's not going to get it because clearly that was a faded Robbie Lawler. It weren't Robbie Lawler of old, and he was being aggressive with his body language. He was moving forward, but when he got into range, he was gun shy and he weren't throwing. And that's just a sign of a fighter who's past his best. Maybe ready to retire. The problem now is, does he want to retire off the back of 4 losses? Can the UFC, find him a good dancing partner who'll stand and bang with them, and maybe that'll bring out the aggression in him? Or does he carry on? It's such a tough spot now because he's almost too good to be retiring off the back of 4 losses. But then, do you want to end up being BJ Penn and just
8 losses,
getting battered by everyone? So yeah, it's up to him. But I'm sure he knows that's not him. And his corner was saying throughout the fight, "You need to throw. You need to go." And sometimes it's just not there anymore. And he clearly was, just holding that hand, but he weren't throwing it. And as a fan, it's frustrating because I picked him to win, and if he was at his best, but clearly he was nowhere near his best. And Magne just did what he wants, and he goes on. But that was a winnable fight for Robbie Lawler. Magne's ranked 14th, I think, so it's not like he's one of the best, top guys in the world. That weren't Kobe Covington or someone like that. It was someone a little low down who struggled in his last fight against Rocco Martin. So where does Lawler go, and how far down does he go to try and get a win? It's tough spots, but Magne, all credit to him. Hopefully he gets a big fight. I don't think he's going to get the credit for this one. Hopefully he gets a big fight, wins that, and then gets some credit because he does deserve it. It was a good performance.
Yeah, I don't want to take away from Magne in this one because he did look good, especially if you put it in contrast with his last fight, which he didn't look too great in. Whether that was because of the opponent he was fighting or the style of fight he had to fight there, wasn't an entertaining fight, wasn't a great performance. You look at him in this one, just domination from start to finish. There was one moment in that first round he got tagged where I was like, oh, maybe Lawler can put this together. I was wrong. He shot in. But anyway, Magne looked fantastic. He'll get a bigger fight off this. I still want to see him fight Jeff Neal. Book that one again. That's the one. But I can't see that happening. I think he'll ask for a top 10 guy, and I think he'll get it. Maybe, who's top 10? Chessa? Nah, yeah, that's one that could happen. Someone like that, I can't imagine him fighting Jeff Neal after this win here, which is a shame. And for Lawler, I'd love to see him knock out Mike Perry and then call it a day.
See, that's a good match, and that's a good. I feel like he just needs someone to stand and bang with him, and just take out the wrestling. Like obviously, it's MMA, but for his final fight, you want someone who's just gonna trade with him and try and knock him out, because he's past his best and he is knockoutable. But Perry wrestled his way to victory last time, so maybe not Perry. I don't know, but there's some favourable fights down there, and I'd like to see him get a win before he rides off in to the sunset, because he's had a brilliant career, and to end it on 4 losses would be a shame. But as I said earlier, to end it on 8 losses and BJ Penn is even more of a shame. So it's up to him how much he thinks he's got left in there, because I'm sure he's even frustrated with himself that he's in range, and he'd usually be knocking people out from that range, and he just weren't throwing it. So I'm sure there's big decisions to be made for Robbie Lawler now, and for the UFC brass, because they've got to match Neil Magny, and he's on a run now, and he's one of the top guys. So hopefully he gets a big fight. Yeah,
I still want that Jeff Neal fight. Come on. It was such a good fight, and then it fell out I know he was really sick, so I mean there's no I'm not trying to throw shade on Jeff Neal for the fight falling out, but it was so close to greatness. And this was still meant to be on paper a fantastic fight. It was meant to be a very similar fight, but it just wasn't. I think we'll see a similar fight as this one if Neal and Magne fight, but will be more entertaining because Jeff Neal isn't going to not throw. He's going to come at you and he's going to throw volume. Hopefully I don't get a repeat of this if it happens, because that would make me sound like a hypocrite, wouldn't it? But that's the one I want. Anyway, we'll jump on to the fight before it, which was a women's flyweight bout between Ji Young Kim and Alexa Grasso. Probably one of the least entertaining fights of the evening, in my opinion. It wasn't the best. Alexa Grasso dominated the striking exchanges and won the fight. That's pretty much it.
She looked really good. It was just about levels, this one. I think Grasso just had a bit more. She just had more to the game. She was hitting upstairs, downstairs. She was varying things in. She was added a bit of wrestling in with her. Kim just kind of had that power punch. She was just kind of trying to get that big counter, and she didn't really ever change the game. And then as the fight progressed, Grasso actually became the power puncher herself. She was sitting down on things. She was throwing Superman punches. It was, a really good flyweight debut. I think it's getting really interesting, this division now. It's we've just added Cynthia Calvillo. Jennifer Myers just emerged as the next title contender. I'm hearing Caitlin Chikugian is going to get matched against Jessica Andrade, which is an interesting fight. So it's a good performance from Grasso. She gets herself a ranking and she goes on to bigger and better things. Kim, no, she looked one-dimensional. She looked like she just had a big punch, and she did have a big punch, but you need more against people like Grasso, and she'll come back, hopefully, Kim.
And when they were exchanging, they were both landing big shots, and you could hear the power behind Kim's shots. Same with Grasso, and it looked to me that Kim's shots were having more effect when they were exchanging, but Grasso was just landing more, and she was landing better shots, even though they weren't as powerful and effective, I guess. She was just landing more, and she definitely won the fight. There's no controversy here. And yeah, like you said, she mixed in some wrestling towards the end of the fight from memory, and so, good showcase from her, but it just wasn't a very entertaining fight, in my opinion, anyway.
No, it was pretty one-sided, but in terms of debut goes in a new division, she can't really do much more other than get the finish. And as the fight was progressing, she was sitting down on her punches, and they were getting, Kim was the power puncher, but as the fight went on, I was thinking if anyone was going to, maybe land a big shot, it was going to be Grasso, because she was really getting into a groove and landing big shots. So it's, she onwards and upwards. She's got a lot of work to do still, but that was a nice little debut, and she'll crack on now.
You're not wrong. We'll jump on to another debut from, I think it was a debut, I hope I'm right. Bill Algio versus Ricardo Llames. You're debuting against Ricardo Llames. Something's gone wrong because that's a huge jump in competition. And he looked fantastic. I know he lost, but he looked really good. I didn't think he would look good in this fight, and he looked fantastic. And Llames obviously won. It was pretty dominant in that third round. That gave it all away. The third round, Llames went out there and just dominated. But, the first 2 rounds were very close. What do you think?
Yeah, I just thought it was a brilliant fight, and I think that's maybe why you didn't enjoy the Grasso Kim fight so much, because this was absolute war, and then that was a little bit tamer. So it was a brilliant fight. It was so much more competitive than I expected it to be, and maybe than should have been, because as you said, Llames is a top contender. Algio is not, he's nowhere near that. So um, he did well to pull out the bag, Llamas, but he was just it was such a fun fight, and it was almost too fun, because he should have been dealing with Algio much easier, and he had a tough time. And then we heard him post fight speaking about potentially retiring. So I think that might be a good move now at 38, and struggling with people like Algio. He's out the rankings. What's his route back to a title shot? It's it's tough for Llamas now, but Algio, he's even off a loss, he's made a nice impression. He's hung well with someone really good. He was big, tall, he was strong. He's going to be a tough night to work for anyone. So, yeah, really good fight. Obviously, fighting night. I didn't see who officially got it, but I guess it was these guys. It was great.
Yeah, it was this fight, the fight of the night. And, going into this, I was pretty cut. I was cutting a lot of these fights, actually, because Jeff Neal's one of my favourite fighters. Ryan Hall's another favourite fighter, and they both got cut from the card for injuries like weeks before. And so when Ryan Hall was off, I was kind of lost interest in this fight. I was like, they're giving him a replacement. Going to be a short notice guy. He's going to go in there and get smashed. Wasn't the case. Awesome fight. Llama's talking about retiring. I don't know. He's still really good, but he is 38. He's unranked. I think he will be ranked after this, because Ryan Hall was 12 or something now, by some miracle, even though he was 14 and hasn't fought. But that's the rankings. So I think Llames, if he's not going to be ranked, he'll be one win away, and they'll give him a ranked guy. I reckon they could probably just rebook the Ryan Hall fight if they want to do that. If they don't want to do that, they could give him anyone else in the top 15 that's not matched up. And if he wins, he's only 3 or 4 fights from a title. Does he have it in him? I don't know. Clearly not. If you're talking about retiring, you're probably not fully set on making a run at the title. But I hope he doesn't. I like him.
Yeah, I think he might want one more, crack at the top 15, just to kind of prove his level. But it just depends how he feels about his performance last night, because by all accounts, many expected it to be a really straightforward fight for Llames, and it was anything but. It was a really tough fight, but he pulled out the bag in the end, and he's still got heart, he's still got talent, he's still got all the things you need. So he's not someone where, like Robbie Lawler, where I'm worried about him going on at any fight losing streak or something like that.
Yeah.
He's just maybe a little smidge off where he needs to be to compete at the top level, but I still feel like he could take out guys in the top 15, maybe the top 10, probably not the top 5 right now, and that's probably what he wants to do. So it's up to him, but there's decisions to be made for a lot of people on this card, and he's one of them.
Yeah, I think we'll jump on to the fight that opened the main card between Iron Kudalaba and Magomed Ankalaev. What'd you think of that fight?
Same as every time. It's so disappointing, and I just feel like the UFC are trying to rush it now. Like, obviously, just give him a month, to get. Like, it might even be a false positive. He might not even have coronavirus anymore. But obviously, if you've had it, just giving him a little while, and they're just trying to do things too quick. And I think both men are really keen. But how many cancellations is that now? Like, it's getting ridiculous, and it's just. This fight just seems to get bigger and bigger, because they're gonna keep trying to rebook it, and eventually it's gonna happen.
It's gonna be a co-main
event. Yeah, it's just ridiculous. But it's not. It's ridiculous. But I went that surprised. Like, I was just waiting for that fight to fall off all week. I was waiting for someone to test positive. It was just obvious. So it's just so disappointing. And hopefully the UFC learn the lesson, and give it a couple months, or a month at least, and then rebook it again.
Funniest thing was when we were doing the preview show and you were saying, I can't wait to see this one so we don't have to talk about it again. It's finally done. And then it goes in and falls out.
It's so ridiculous, because it's not like this is Khabib Tony and where everyone's excited to see this fight. This is a fight that's become exciting because of the controversial ending and everyone, and then the cancellations on top of it. It's more of a situation. The actual fight itself, a few months ago, if you stuck that on an undercard, I wouldn't be particularly interested in it.
Yeah.
So it's just one of them that we'll have to talk about again. And finally, when it gets done, I think both men will be relieved. But Ankalaev's got to feel like, because it's Kutalaba who's tested positive twice now, so
Is that
he might
confirmed?
just be. I think no, he tested positive the
Yeah,
first
the
time,
first
didn't
time.
he? And last night,
Really?
it was him. Yeah, it was him. So I think Ankalaev might just want to move on now and just be like, okay, clearly it's not meant to be. I'm ready to fight. They need to have backup fighters for Ankalaev because every time Kutalaba's fallen out, he's fallen out as well. So I'm not sure how it's working with pay and things like that, but it was just it's just a sad one. And this card, as we were saying, it was so strong and it just took so many hits, and
Yeah.
that's the times we're in. But it was still a good card. It was still fun, but it could have been so much more. And it always sucks to lose, a big fight on the night of the event. So hopefully to get that book soon, not too soon.
That's so weird if it's the same person that tests positive. How do you test positive 2 weeks ago, quarantine for 2 weeks, get rid of it, test clear all week, and then the day before the fight, you test again? Super weird. I don't really want to get into why that happened because I have no clue. I don't know if it was his team or him. So we'll jump onto some of the prelims. And one of the better prelims was the feature prelim between Maki Pitolo and Impa Gas. Impa, I'm not going to try that. I can't say that. Great fight. Both guys are just throwing bombs. Maki Pitolo can take a punch. Jesus Christ, man. He was just getting smashed and he's walked it down, He obviously lost the fight. It was a clear loss, but his stock goes up for me because he looks so durable. What do you think?
It was a good fight. I thought Impa probably he was winging for the finish. So I don't know how he didn't get it. It was like Bartolo was like one of them, boxing things where they just bop back and forward, and every time he get hit, he just comes straight back. So he's just an immovable object, and he showed his toughness. But I think that's a few in a row now. He lost to Darren Stewart, I think. Yeah, that's 2 in a row, both in August as well. So
Yeah.
hopefully he takes a bit of time off, gets himself back together, and then can come and get a win, because that was a tough loss. The Darren Stewart one was a tough loss. So, but yeah, very impressive. How are we saying this? Kasangne?
That'll do.
Impa Kasangne. I'm going with that. So he looked impressive. Was that his UFC debut?
I think it was. Yeah, he won on the Contender Series like a couple weeks ago back.
Yeah, so I love it. He just looked like he was trying to take someone's head off. He's 8-0, and he's just gone through the Contender Series. It's very surprising because the amount of lever he was throwing with. He has a lot of decisions on his record. He hasn't had a knockout since, I don't know, ever. Is it ever?
I haven't looked at his record.
I don't think he's got a knockout on his record.
That's crazy.
Which is very surprising, because he was clearly like a very powerful man. So, but he was thrown with it as like everything he had, really. So maybe there's still stuff to work on there, where being a bit smarter, and he's just not trying to take people's heads off. Take a little bit off the punch, and you might get a better result. So, but he's an exciting guy. He's someone to watch, I think, in that middleweight division. Great addition. And Patolo in your debut, it's a good win. It's a really good win, and he'll only go from there. So, looking forward to watching his rise, Patolo. Hopefully he has a little break now, comes back, gets a win, and gets himself back in the mix.
Yeah, and we'll keep skimming through his prelims. And before that, we had Alessio di Chirico versus Zach Cummings. The only thing I want to talk about this fight, because it wasn't the best fight, to be honest. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't a great fight. Until right at the end, on the bell, I think he hit him with a head kick and dropped him. And he gets up and he can barely walk. And he still won the decision, so it was good. But, how's the ref not called that? It was in regulation time. He was clearly done. He couldn't walk after. That should have been a knockout.
It's weird. Even when the bell sounds, if the fight's still on the floor and unable to get back up and go back to his corner for the end of the fight, or it usually they call it after the fight, or they just say no, you're done. So luckily for Zach, it was it didn't really affect the outcome, and he got a good decision win. And it was he's just one of them guys, Zach Cummings, who just always seems to be about and always picking up wins, and he's a tough night to work for anyone. And he's back at middleweight now, I think. So I think he's won 3 of his last 4. Good luck to him, because he seems to be about. He doesn't seem to be ever threatening to crack the top 10 or anything like that. But he's a tough night to work for anyone, and he keeps picking up these wins.
Yeah, for sure. We'll keep going down. Alex Caceres took that short notice fight against Austin Springer and choked him out in the first and did it fantastic. He looked phenomenal. It looked the best he's ever looked, in my opinion. I've only seen probably like 4 of his fights, but I've not seen him look this good. And, impressive stuff. What do you think?
Yeah, it was pretty easy, I'd say, for Caceres. I think, as we've said a few times, when you come in on late notice, it can go this way. You can just get wiped out by the guy who's better prepared and probably more talented than you. And Caceres, that's 3 in a row now for him, which is it's rare for him in his UFC career. And it was huge, and he seemed to catch him on the way in because the takedown attempt from Springer was a bit limp. There weren't much to it, and then he hopped over to the back really easy. So I imagine he caught him with something on the way in, and that it was game over from there. He got choked out, and even though he tapped, he seemed to go asleep as well. So um, tough debut for Springer for stepping up on late notice. Hopefully he gets another chance. And Alex Caceres, he's what you do with him now, because that's 3 in a row. He beat Chase Hooper last time out, so it's maybe it's time to edge him towards the rankings and see how he does. He's clearly coming into his own now. I think he's still quite young too. So yeah, I'm always excited to watch Alex Caceres. I've been a fan since the Ultimate Fighter days. He's been a frustrating guy to watch because he always seems to win one, lose one, or his talent isn't really matched by his results. I feel like he's so much better than his record suggests. So looking forward to him stepping up in competition. Maybe he's hitting his peak now and we can see him, maybe take a run at the rankings.
Yeah, maybe. You could even give him Ricardo Llames if he wants the last fight before he calls it a day. They're probably about the same spot in the rankings right now, right on the edge of the 15. But yeah, he looked good. He'll get something big next, ideally. But yeah, before that, we had Sean Brady submitting Christian Aguilera with a one-armed guillotine from Mount in the second round. Impressive submission. This was on that streak of submission that was 4 fights long, and this is when I thought the card was going to be absolutely fire. I was like, it's going to be the best card. And after that Caceres fight, every other fight was just decision. But we're not going to go into that again. Great performance by Brady. I didn't think Aguilera looked bad either, and then until he got submitted, he looks pretty good too. So both guys, in my opinion, had good performances.
Yeah, he did, and that's unbeaten record now. That's 13-0, and he's got guys like Court McGee and Christian Aguilera and Colton Smith on there as well. So good record, one to watch out for now. It's maybe it's time to step him up. But it's just I think he was saying after the fight he wants a big name now, and I think he deserves it. Let's get him some recognition. And Christian Aguilera, he looked good. I think he looked good in his last fight as well. I don't worry about him too much. He'll be back, and it was just one of them nights where you come up against someone like Sean Brady who's flying right now, and yeah, good win for Sean Brady. Christian Algaier, he'll be back.
Yeah, he's undefeated for a reason, right? But we'll run them all off. We'll go back we'll do the whole card. So before that, we had Pollyanna Viana versus Emily Whitmire. Short fight. Viana proved that she's the superior grappler in this one, and yeah, pulled off a submission. I can't remember for the life of me what it was. I think it was an armbar. Am I right on that one?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, impressive stuff.
Yeah, and it was on so quick. It was Emily Whitmire was tapping before it even seemed like it. She didn't really have to work for it. As soon as it was on, boom, she got the tap. So really great, and that's snapping a 3 win streak for Pollyanna Viana. So she's back at strawweight. She looked good. Yeah, on to the next one. Hopefully she can, stay strawweight. Obviously flyweight weren't for her. If she's losing to people like, Hannah Cyphers and people like that. So the names she was losing to weren't huge, and she's probably a bit lucky to still be in the UFC after going on that 3-fight losing streak. It's just we do need these women to, fill out these divisions, and that was a huge win. So yeah, can't wait to see it again. And Emily Whitmire, I'm not sure where she goes from here.
Yeah.
Because her record's 4-4 now, and obviously she's fighting the top girls, but in my opinion, looking at her record, she hasn't been able to beat any of the top girls. Yeah, she's lost to them all. She's been subbed by them all. So it's a tough spot for her. What do you do with her? It's only a 2-fight losing streak. I'm sure she'll get another chance, and I'm sure we'll watch.
Yeah, hopefully she does. But yeah, I think this one was such a short fight. You can't really take a lot out of it other than she got submitted. And that submission was cool. From memory, I'm trying to think of it now. She was attacking the she set it up so she was attacking the close arm, and then she switched to the firearm, which is the one she actually submitted with the armbar on, if I'm right. So technical stuff, look good doing it. Hopefully she stays on this winning streak. Speaking of Hannah Cyphers, opening the card, Hannah Cyphers' 4th fight this year. That's a red flag for me already. If you're having 4 fights this year and you've gone 0-3, you should probably take some time off before your 4th one. But she was back in there, and then she looked really good in that first round. She looked phenomenal. She was sparked Martin up. It looked like she was going to close the show in that first round. I was like, she can turn this around, go 1-3 for like the year. Unfortunately for her, second round rolls around. Martin comes out, takes her down, submits her. What can you do? What do you think?
She's just had a tough run, hasn't she? Like, to take 4 fights when you're losing 3, I just don't understand the thinking, really. She's almost too game for her own good. Like, as impressive as Maria Agapova looked, she went on to get beat by Shauna Dobson, so that takes a bit of shine off that defeat as well. Like, it's not even like she was up against one of the top girls at flyweight, because clearly Agapova's got a lot of work to do. Then you run into girls like Mackenzie Dern and Angela Hill. Fair enough, you get they're top of the food chain girls, but the last 2, she was doing well as well, so it's just frustrating. Hopefully she gets another shot, but like it's 4 and about. What do you do with her? I'm not sure where she goes from here. She looked good for a little bit, but then ultimately she lost, so it's a tough spot. But for Martin, she'll be delighted, because that's a huge win, maybe one of the biggest wins of her career. And she got a little bonus at the end as well, so it was the perfect night for her. And she goes on, and she's one to watch in strawweight division now. But Hannah Cyphers is in a weird spot where what happens now, I'm not sure.
I agree, and that'll do the card. Roll through all the fights. Anything else you want to touch on before we wrap it up?
No, I don't think so.
No, well, we'll go through the news when we preview the next card, which is the Sakai vs. Overeem one next, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so we'll do that later on in the week. But until then, thanks for watching, guys, and we'll speak to you then.